God's chosen ones. You just completed something impossible. No God can compete with you now. If you're hearing this, know that it's not a coincidence. It's not by chance that you found this video among billions of sounds echoing through the world right now. There is an invisible hand, an ancient current of energy that led you here. At this exact time, in this exact moment, chosen by the universe to awaken you. Take a deep breath and listen to your own breathing. Do you feel it? The air itself feels different. Something is shifting, vibrating between the very atoms of reality. A door has just opened. A boundary has dissolved. The impossible has happened. This moment right now doesn't belong to the past or the future anymore. Time itself has gone silent, as if the universe is holding its breath, waiting for you to realize something. Because you, the one hearing these words, have just done what even the gods could not. You have crossed the final frontier of possibility. You have stepped into the field of light that only the chosen souls are ever allowed to touch. Before we continue, do 3 small things that carry great power. Tap like, so this signal can be sealed into the global frequency. Hit subscribe, so you can step fully into the circle of awakening. And comment the number 11, the sacred code of divine alignment, the sign that you have heard the universe calling your name. Because from this moment forward, nothing will ever be the same. A chain of events beyond human understanding has already begun to move, and its center is you. This is the beginning of a truth humanity has not been ready to hear for thousands of years. Part 1, the ancient prophecies and the chosen one. The desert wind moved like a dry hand, stroking the surface of time, on the edge between night and dawn, before the sun opened its eyes. Grains of sand ran after one another across the ground like tiny characters, rewriting a story long buried. They say every grain of sand in the Nile Valley knows the name of a person. Every stone of the pyramids has drunk in a promise. And that promise, across millennia, has smoldered, waiting for the hour to burst into flame. Tonight, beside a wall covered in ancient carvings, the light of an excavation team trembles like a star shaken by wind. A soft brush lifts a veil of dust to reveal lines as delicate as veins, a single ankh opening like a doorway. And at its center, a strange mark, 2 slim, parallel strokes, straight as the number that has followed you since the first moment. 11. The story begins in Egypt, where the scribes of the sun wove their texts in images, on rock faces washed in warm brown. The feather of Mayat and the scales of judgment become props for another kind of trial, the trial of destiny. The high priest, eyes lined in deep kohl like a well, listens for the Nile's voice as it passes through the flood season, then writes upon a plaster tablet a figure that belongs to no known god. This figure wears no double crown of Horus, holds no crook of Osiris, but stands at the crossing of the stars where Orion touches Sirius on a rare night. They called it the one who surpasses the gods, a sign not of empire, but of a new order. At the figure's feet, a small inscription almost vanished, visible only when the sun dips to an angle of 11 degrees, when the time of sand runs out. That one will come, farther east across plains that once were ancient seas. Sumer pressed records into clay with little wedges. The stacked tablets of the archives, a library of silence, speak the same truth in another tongue the gods may write the laws. But there will arise one who steps out of the writing as out of a painting, to take the pen of destiny itself. On a broken shard, linguists found 3 signs combined: Lugalai, not king of men, not king of kings, but king of law. The cracks in the pottery mimic the folds of time. When fitted into their proper places, they form a double motif, 2 straight lines like twin blades, twin gateposts, twin footprints, again the insistent, steady number calling the same frequency. 11. At the rim of those who sailed toward the last frontier. Atlantis legend, though it may be left a right behind. In rings of stone, drowned beneath the water, where seaweed dances to the tide. Divers photographed spiral patterns fractured at the 11th point, as if someone had intentionally marked history's breaking node. Old tales speak of an 11th tone, a note beyond the ordinary scale, heard only when the human heart harmonizes with the pulse of the cosmos. Ocean physicists call it a resonance of currents. Mystics call it a doorway. Both, surprisingly, are right at one level, because the door does not open by stone or water, but by the recognition of a soul whose hour has come. North of the Mediterranean, Greece tells its truths in myth. Human tragedies and the jokes of the gods interweave, but sometimes the stage slips and shows its secret, a role written for one who has not yet stepped into the world. On a little-known relief, among cold Doric columns, stands a figure outside every chain of cause and effect. No name given, no place in Olympus's family tree, no mortal hybris to confess, only eyes lifted toward the sky, as if seeing through the veil of fate. On the terracotta roof tiles, an unnamed artisan carved a thin cleft of light, a slender score, the 11th mark on the same strip of clay, winking at the future you will come from a light they have not learned to name. In India, where hymns flow like a river with no beginning and no end, the Vedas whisper of the final flame Tila, Jyoti, Agni, a fire that does not burn, only illumines. Sages sat beneath the Bodhi shade, counting the breath until breath dissolved into wind. And in that stillness they heard a strange rhythm, a heartbeat that belonged not to any chest, but to life itself. When they wrote it down, their hands trembled, language too small to hold it. They drew 2 rivers meeting without whirlpool, opening instead into a mirror, and upon the mirror, a double stroke, the sign of the straight way to the center. They called it the 11th gate of consciousness, where the one who surpasses moves like wind through bamboo, leaving sound, not shape, across the ocean, among stair-stepped temples reaching to embrace the sky. The Maya braided time into calendars. They hung days upon the gears of the universe, turning like a noonday millstone, and within a cycle few could read. They marked a day with no day when the gears stack into a perfect line. In a half-burned codice, conservators found a page the flames had spared, a human figure drawn with only 2 lines, one vertical, one horizontal crossing at the point 11. Beneath it, a terse sentence. When the stair's shadow disappears, that one stands in the heart of the sun. And these are only fragments. Statues cease to be statues. Rites cease to be rites. Everything becomes a code to open a greater door. The door that brings civilizations into a single conversation. When the modern world began asking old questions with new tools, what once could only be felt by intuition stepped forward in data. Night sky satellite images recorded auroral bands appearing out of pattern, pulsing to a strange cadence. Magnetometers on 3 continents synced their signals precisely at the 11th minute past each hour. a biology lab detected a subtle shift in the heart rhythms of people meditating to a single tone, a long, thin note, like a thread of light stitching the tears in reality. Reports named it a global resonance anomaly. The strictest minds frowned. The widest hearts smiled. Two schools, walking two roads, finally laid their hands upon the same door. Scholars, archaeologists, and modern mystics first stood on opposite banks of the river. One bank held data, one held symbol, one held direct experience. But the larger current of the question drew them to a single confluence. At a closed-door gathering in an unnamed city, in a building without a sign, they spread photographs, laid translations side by side, and brought up screens of pulsing waves. A mild-mannered linguist pointed to the Vedic repetitions of two, then one. An Egyptologist overlaid a relief with star maps to reveal two bands of light running parallel across the sky. An astrophysicist opened a plot of subtle energy spikes, each appearing twice in succession at nearly identical strength pairs. Pairs the refrain of the universe. They were no longer arguing terms. They were looking at the same image, each through a different mirror. And at the center of those mirrors, reflecting back, stood the figure that had long appeared in carvings, in chants, in stone steps, a human being. That night, they did not sleep. People rarely sleep on the eve of metamorphosis. An old theologian sat listening to soft rain at the window and recognized the rhythm he'd heard in chapels for 40 years only this time. It did not come from the vaulted ceiling. A hard-nosed neuroscientist, fearless breaker of superstitions, found tears she could not explain when she rechecked the oscillation graphs. The line suddenly looked like Earth's own EKG, and the Earth was calming. A meditation master, who had never entered a lab, placed his palm on the screen as if on a fevered brow and smiled. The fever has broken. In their own languages, they each said the same sentence. This is no longer a hypothesis. When dawn slid over the sill, they stepped onto the stoop and received the day's first light. The city slept, but the birds had begun to call each other. A thin wind passed by, lifting and setting down their notes with the gentleness of a nod. No one said miracle. They said alignment. And in that alignment, they began to see what the ancients had tried to say with sculpture, with music, with ritual. All roads, if you carry them far enough, lead to a center. That center is not in a temple, not in a book, not in a machine. That center wears a human form. News, as always, refused to wait. The first headlines were cautious global synchrony phenomenon, mysterious repeats in geomagnetic data. Then their tone began to change. Did ancient civilizations leave the same symbol? Two parallel strokes, the code of prophecy online. People started sharing chance images, the twin shadows of street lamps falling side by side on the pavement, two contrails crossing the sky, two fine tattoos on a wrist, two silver hairs lying together on an open page. No one needed the whole theory. They could feel it, because when a great story's hour arrives, it doesn't need to be explained. It tells itself by touching one small life at a time. On a monastery peak, a bell rang 11 times at an odd hour. In an old church, a single wick candle split into twin flames of equal height. Some said it was a draft. Perhaps it was an invitation received. In a lab where chips thin as thumbnails read neural signals, A graph rose to two matching peaks and then softened into one warm, steady line. The attending physician wrote artifact and smiled, because sometimes what we call noise is actually the melody. And down in the Pyramid Valley, a child ran through a shaft of sun and laughed two echoes, ringing as one before dissolving into noon. "Hush," the mother said. But who knows, maybe the universe needed that laugh to close an open equation. Amid those swelling waves, an interdisciplinary group, the ones who shared that sleepless night, issued a statement simpler than either the language of science or the language of ritual. Every trace, from ancient to modern, converges on a single silhouette: a human. Not a god, yet no longer confined by definitions of the merely mortal. Inscribed in stone before there was paper, breathed into music before there were notes, encoded in light before there were eyes. This one borrows no one's power, because that power is the pulse of the universe itself. They did not give a name. They left a space, not for lack of words, but because words need a bearer. You may ask, why now? Why did millennia pass in promise, and only today does promise turn to presence? The answer is not on a calendar, for calendars are the lines we draw across days. The answer is in frequency, like a piece of music that only plays when enough musicians have taken their seats, when breath meets the right tempo, when the instrument is tuned. The ancients tuned that instrument for ages, with temples to echo, with myths to remember, with rites to keep the flame. Modern science, seeming to stand on the far bank, was fitting microphones sensitive enough to hear the string's smallest tremor. And then, in a moment no one could forecast, a hand touched the string. One note sounded the 11th note, and the whole orchestra fell silent to listen. From then on, curiosity became recognition, not the recognition of committees, but the recognition that rises in a human heart when it hears the call it has waited for all its life. A village potter pressed his palms into clay and felt it soft as the first time. He didn't know why, only that he had just remembered his father's hands. A young doctor stepped out of the ICU, leaned against the wall, and exhaled. The monitors inside blended with the rain outside into a gentle phrase, and in that minute, fatigue melted into a kind of quiet peace. An elder watched grandchildren play on old tile and suddenly heard her grandmother's story return. Clear as a film, she understood those old tales weren't meant to frighten children, but to keep a key for this day. When truth draws close enough to touch, every fog dissolves on its own. It no longer matters what school you attended, which book you trust, how you pray. The new order does not arrive to deny the old roads, but to bridge them. The bridge has a structure almost blinding in its simplicity. Two parallel spans like the two lines you've seen in carvings, scriptures and plots. One is what was written. The other is the one who fulfills. They meet at a point, and from that point a halo of light spreads slow but sure, gentle yet deep. You could stand on your bank and look across, waiting for someone to call your name. But sometimes the bridge appears only when you step. The first step is always trembling. The second is lighter. By the 11th, you can no longer tell where the bridge ends and you begin, or where either bank ever was. You will see only a clear, open space, and in its center, a familiar whisper. It's time. The carvings have spoken. The scrolls have spoken. The rites have spoken. The statues have spoken. And now science, the language of precision, speaks the same sentence. Not because anyone compromised, but because truth, when large enough, lays a span across every difference. They placed the final pieces on the table, stepped back, and a picture came into focus that no one could deny. That picture does not announce a new dynasty of fear, build another wall, or demand fresh vows. It simply offers a pure recognition that one has arrived on the universe's appointed hour, that every omen, every prophecy, every song, every measurement was waiting for that one to complete itself. And when they lifted their eyes, they saw you. They did not look for a crown, you don't need one. They did not search for a halo. The light that walks with you is not for display, but for the path. They asked for no certificate. What you carry isn't kept in any ledger. They simply stood still as temples once stood still to watch a star pass and let their hearts recognize a warmth from a source they had heard of all their lives but never touched. In that instant, the wind paused on the roof, the clock stopped urging, and the sky, like a velvet curtain, drew aside to reveal the stage of truth. That truth, at last, is simple, yet it shakes everything that once felt solid. Every road, every trace, every frequency, every prophecy points to a single point. And that point, called by many names across the ages, may be named today by the softest and most complete of all names. The name of that one is you. Part 2, the impossible act. There are moments that never make it into history, because history only knows how to write what humans can understand. But along those straight lines of time, sometimes there is a slight bend thin as a thread, where every law from physics to destiny bows its head. That moment has just happened, not in some far corner of the Milky Way, but here in the very breath you're taking. Creation curved back on itself to look at you. No one knows exactly when the impossible act began. Maybe it was when you opened your eyes this morning and the light felt different, or when the number 11 flashed at random on your phone and your heart skipped a beat. Maybe it was when the vague echoes in your mind stopped, making room for a perfect silence. And in that silence, time cracked like a mirror tapped by a fingertip. You didn't hear the break, you only felt everything around you tremble, very softly, as if the world were switching into another mode. The light changed color. Across the sky, streams of brightness stopped following their old paths. The planets, as if obeying a hidden score, began to align in a perfect line. Celestial bodies once separated by millions of light years, in a single heartbeat settled into one frequency. No one on Earth could see it with the naked eye, but the orbital stations recorded it at once, a resonant pulse, a tone absent from all prior data. The working name they gave it was 1111. From cold deserts to wet jungles, from snowy peaks to the ocean floor, this energy spread like an invisible tide. Photons moved faster than our rules allow, crossing space, touching every atom, every soul. People sleeping began to dream the same dream, a radiant beam tearing open the sky, and at its center, you. In that moment, you were no longer a person standing in the middle of ordinary life. No body, no borders. You became the meeting point of everything matter and spirit, light and shadow, time and eternity. Parallel dimensions that once ran separate began to merge like rivers entering the sea. All that was divided gathered in you, a center without form, without weight yet enough to make reality bow. In the halls of the eternal, the old gods stirred. Those who once held sway over life and death felt, for the first time, something they could not understand. From the temples of Olympus, from Asgard's golden courts, from the sky of Ra and the wells of Enki, they looked down and watched a soul move beyond their very nature. Your light born not of fire, not of stars, rose and spread through the heavens, melting their powers like wax before the sun. But you did not come to destroy them. No, you came to surpass them, to show that even divinity is only a stare on the evolution of consciousness. When they beheld you, they were no longer the proud beings of the ancient cosmos. They became witnesses. Some knelt, hands over their hearts, eyes bright with pure awe. Others simply stepped back into silence, because in you they saw their own limits shatter. Zeus loosened his grip on the lightning. Odin unhooked the spear that binds the soul. Anubis bowed before the one who needs no scales to judge good and evil, for you are the balance. The gods who once shaped worlds stood still and watched as you touched the veil of reality and drew it aside. A vast white expanse opened, not empty, but overflowing with unborn possibility. Light streamed from your hands like ancient code, rewriting the architecture of the cosmos. Matter and energy fell away, leaving only notes of light, each note a proposition of new creation. The old universe, bound by fixed laws, began to expand and contract with your breathing. Space was no longer distance. Time was no longer sequence. Every point became now. They say that at that moment, every clock on Earth stopped for exactly 1 second, a second and an eternity. Raindrops hung mid-air. Wings paused mid-beat. The ocean froze like crystal. And in that absolute stillness, one sound rose, the heartbeat of the universe. No ear heard it, yet every bone, every vein, every breath felt it. It said, the boundary is over. At the farthest reach of the stars, an outburst of light rippled like a chain reaction. Aged galaxies changed hue blue to gold, gold to silver white. Their axes tilted by 11 degrees, the number once more, your signature across the sky. Chance was no longer in play. Everything was alignment. Astronomers, not knowing why, named it the divine convergence. But those who listen with the heart knew it was the instant the universe acknowledged its new center. You didn't need to speak, Yotai. You opened your mind, and everything understood. Atoms in the air took their places. Every electromagnetic band, every subatomic oscillation, obeyed a new music, your music. No resistance, no chaos. Only harmony. You did not force, you assimilated. You did not destroy, you upgraded. At the border of myth and physics, a new law was born. The sages later called it the law of superbalance. Energy is not lost, but now chooses the shortest path back to source, to you. You became the fulcrum, the center upon which existence leans to redefine itself. And when that happened, divine stopped being a rank. It became a state. The state you now carry. The gods saw, and fear fell away. They understood you hadn't come to seize a throne, but to dissolve the very idea of thrones. There was no longer an against between you and them, because you had moved beyond the meaning of opposition. No borders remained, only the blending of light, the light of absolute knowing. Within that radiance, you watched the universe's past like an old film, the first explosions, infant galaxies, souls reaching for form through chaos. And you smiled not in triumph, but in understanding that every step from first spark to final ember had simply led you here, to the moment when you, once bound by human limits, became the crossroads of all possibility. A great wave of light poured from you, crossing the atmospheres and racing through the star fields. No more language, no more symbols. The universe understood you by resonating with you. Scientists said the background frequency just ticked higher. Masters said the heart of all things just opened. But in truth, there was only one fact you had caused the universe to recognize itself. All borders vanished. No more split between God and human, energy and matter, birth and decay. Everything became one seamless fabric, and you were the golden thread weaving its central pattern. The light did not burn, it birthed, and within it rose a feeling never known before: absolute freedom. Freedom from time, freedom from cause and effect, freedom from the very idea of impossible. Because what you touch can no longer claim to be beyond reach. Across the heavens, ancient symbols lit at once: the Egyptian Ankh, the Dharma wheel, the sacred Om, the Ouroboros, each opening, each joining, spiraling upward without end. At the core, the sign of 11 appeared again, not a number now, but two pillars of reality, one for what is known, one for what is not yet known. And you standing between them became the bridge. The old cosmos bowed. The gods fell silent, not from fear, but because they witnessed what they thought could never be: the surpassing of the sacred itself. From now on, divine would not be a summit, but the starting line of the journey into union. And you, first to cross that threshold, became the lighthouse for all who come after. Within the widening light, a deeper knowing dawned: there is no one left to conquer, because there is no battlefield, no one left to worship, because all has become one rhythm. No good or evil, only complete understanding. Time began to flow again, but not as before. It did not carry you, it circled you. You were no longer swept within it. You were the axis it revolved around. Every new moment was born carrying a fragment of you, a seed of code, a shard of light, a steady pulse. And when the last radiance folded into the dark, the universe whispered as if to itself. From that second on, no limit remained, because the limit had taken your name. Part 3: The Fall of the Old Gods. As your light spread, the old universe began to tremble, not with clamor, but with a silence so deep it made the stars stop singing. In that stillness, ancient temples began to crack. The stones that once held up the sky shivered as if they had souls. God statue, dusted by 1,000 years, opened their eyes one last time. The gaze was no longer sovereign, only a quiet knowing that their hour had passed. In the valley of Luxor, where the colonnades of Karnak once welcomed the first dawn, the carved motifs on the walls began to fade. The eyes of Horus dimmed, the Ankh lost its glow. On Olympus, thunder no longer rolled. Zeus's liquid gold throne webbed with hairline fractures. In Valhalla, Odin stood silent, looking toward a far horizon where a new radiance approached, light that could not be named, could not be controlled. And in Asgard, the Bifrost, the rainbow bridge between heaven and earth, shattered into a billion shards of light, each shard reflecting the same image you. The old gods, the beings once worshipped by humankind, felt, for the first time, what they had long ascribed to mortals: fear. Not fear of annihilation, but the awe of facing what exceeds even their immortality. They whispered in the spaces of the sacred, "No one can stop the chosen one." Their voices did not ring out. They dissolved into threads of wind, into rain, into lightning, and vanished into a sky changing color. For the universe, what they once assumed was theirs was now turning around a new axis. An axis shaped by your heartbeat, the one whom civilizations called by 100 names that all meant the same, the God-surpassing one. Across the heavens, constellations began to move. Ancient crystals in the body of space obeyed an unseen call, arranging themselves into a shape never before seen. From Earth, observers thought they were witnessing a strange, astronomical event, but it was not random. Star by star, planet by planet, fragment by fragment, an invisible hand set the cosmos in order to form a sign stretched over billions of light years. When the instruments captured the image, every data center displayed the same string of code: CHOOSENONE. A cosmic rite was underway. No music, no liturgy, only resonance halos of light pulsing to one rhythm, composing a symphony made of brightness. It was the final movement bidding farewell to the age of the old gods and the overture to the era of the divine human, the era of you. The gods understood that none of them was being slain. They were being freed from forms that had grown too small. Zeus bowed his head and loosed his last bolt into the earth, where it burst into billions of shining drops, like rain. Ra, the sun god of Egypt, drew back into his own corona, fading into morning light to return to the source of all radiance. Shiva, the destroyer and rebuilder, smiled and opened his arms, letting your energy pass through him like a river over mountains, carrying both destruction and creation in a single breath. In the north, Freya set down her battle gear, let her golden hair fall into the river, watched her reflection dissolve, and whispered, "At last, one has stepped beyond myth." Across the eastern plains, Kwanum closed her eyes. A summer wind smile passed over her lips, leaving a final whisper: "You do not come to replace the gods, but to complete what they could not finish." On the earth, people began to feel it. They did not know what was happening, only that their hearts grew light. Wars paused for a breath, as if every rifle sagged at once. Those praying in temples, pagodas, and churches opened their eyes together and saw the statues before them cracking, but not collapsing. The fractures gleamed like cuts of dawn, not to destroy, but to release. For what they had called God, Buddha, deity, heaven was no longer outside them. It was within them, like breath, like blood, like thought. Priests, masters, and shamans everywhere sensed what had never been felt before: energy flowing from the inside out, not the other way around. No one begged for light. Light lived in every cell. They called it the sacred return, the hour when humanity was given back its own portion of the holy. On ancient plains, shrines swayed and fell, not struck by lightning, but because their foundations had finished their task. Witnesses watched columns lean, settle, and break into dust that lifted and flew toward the horizon, each mote like an old soul going home to the source, to you. Symbols of divine rule across the world, from the cross, the crescent, The Star of David, to the eye of Horus, softened into the air, thinned into white threads, and joined the ever-widening tide of energy. Those who watched called it the night of dissolving icons. Those who understood called it the birth of the real. At the border of the seen and unseen, a final prophet appeared. No one knew from where, only that he arrived in the half-light between night and day. His hair was silver as star ash, his voice deep and warm, and his eyes reflected nothing of this world. He carried no scroll and needed no staff. He simply spoke, and his words sounded as if uttered by the universe's own substance. The gods have fulfilled their part. From this day, their age is over. A new epoch begins, the epoch of the divine human. For the sacred no longer lives above, it is alive in every heart. Then he turned and blended into the light, leaving behind an echo like the resonance of 1,000 bells, becoming one. And you, the one who touched the limit of the impossible, saw it all. You stood amid the ashes of fallen sanctuaries and felt no grief, because you knew nothing had been lost, only old forms shed, making room for the original truth. The old gods did not disappear. They became a part of you, like ancient memories returning to complete the whole picture. All that was once worshipped dissolved into light, like water into the sea. No more above and below, high and low, it's sacred and profane. Only absolute oneness where you and they are one. In the sky, thousands of stars shifted again, arranging themselves into a pair of colossal wings spanning the Milky Way. They were the wings of rebirth, the wings of a new cosmos where your energy is the wind, the rhythm, the life. The world bowed not in fear. People knelt not to beg, but to give thanks. They understood they were no longer ruled by gods. They had become part of the very holiness they once sought. Children born after that day carried light in their eyes within their pupils, a faint reflection of two parallel pillars. Science called it a genetic reflex. But the wise knew it was your seal, the seal of the chosen one. Then, in the open of the new universe where night and day braid into a silver ribbon, your voice rose, gentle yet piercing, like the first sound of creation. You are not destroyed. I am only bringing you home. A soft wave of light swept through and wrapped all things. The gods became grains of energy and drifted into the widening band of radiance. No more boundary between God and human. Only a single living reality, complete awareness bearing the name existence. From then on, in every legend retold, no one said you destroyed the gods. They said you completed them. For each god was always a fragment of a greater image, the image you have now made whole. You are not the hammer that shattered sacred towers, but the light that made them dissolve, because when truth stands revealed, symbols no longer need to. And so the world began again, not with an explosion, but with a breath. Your breath joined to the breath of the universe. No one above, no one below, no power imposed upon life. Only one truth, gentle and all-powerful. You are not the destroyer of the gods. You are the reason they ever existed. Part 4. The universal rebirth, a morning unlike any other. The sky still blue, the wind still moving, yet every scientific instrument on the planet began to hum at once. From observatories in the Andes to the orbital space station, from the particle accelerator in Switzerland to the geomagnetic lab in Japan, each recorded the same phenomenon, an infinite energy source spreading through space, radiating from a single point. That point was not outside the universe. It was within you. The first signal came from the James Webb Space Telescope, a vast halo pulsing at 72 beats per minute, the resting heart rate of a human being at perfect peace. No one could explain how light faster than anything known could breathe. Physicists gave the event a working name, pulse of creation. Then came the discovery that hushed the world. That very frequency matched your heartbeat, the heartbeat of the one called the Chosen One. In the NASA control room, a young scientist stared at the radar display. The energy waves were not only expanding outward into space, they were returning in spirals, as if they were not traveling anywhere at all. They were returning to their source. He whispered, "This energy doesn't dissipate. It circulates. It's as if it is the universe." At CERN, where people once hoped to find the God particle, researchers now found the opposite, nothing discrete at all, because every particle had fallen into sync. No more separate protons, neutrons, electrons. Everything vibrated at one frequency. A physicist bowed his head and said softly, "There is no God in the particle now, because the particle itself has gone back to being God." At Cambridge, a team of theologians spent the night rereading ancient texts. An elderly priest, who had preached for decades of a God enthroned above, stopped, placed a hand over his heart, felt its rhythm, and wept. He looked out the window where dawn was spreading like a sea of light and told his students, "Perhaps God was never above. Perhaps he is this breath." News spread like a solar storm, but without chaos. No one panicked. Instead, the world grew quieter. Crowded cities softened, car horns faded, as if everyone could hear an invisible music in the air. Across social media, millions began sharing the same phrase, in every language, the source. Scholars, scientists, and faith leaders convened a historic gathering in Geneva. There were no more fences between belief and experiment, because science was now seeing what religion had once dreamed. In a round hall filled with natural light, they signed a declaration named the Covenant of the Source. It contained exactly 11 statements. The last read, "God is no longer a concept outside the human being. God is the current of energy flowing in every living thing. And that current moves to a single rhythm, the rhythm of the source." From that moment, the great religions began to change their language. The Bible, the Quran, the Vedas, the Tripitaka, each text was opened again, not to edit belief, but to update understanding. God, Deus, Allah, Ishvara were honored with a shared title, the Source. People no longer said, "Grant us your blessing," but "Let us open the current within." No longer, "May light shine down," but "May we become the light." Religion did not disappear, it returned to its first essence connection. Quantum physicists explained the phenomenon with intricate equations, but the meditation masters simply smiled. It is the breath where science and spirit inhale as one. Inside every person, a subtle change began. No one felt pain, yet everyone knew they were different. Breaths deepened, minds calmed, heartbeats slowed and synced with Earth's new tone. The frequency geomagnetic watchers named the source frequency. Within that rhythm, the split between me and world dissolved. Each person became a small point of light in the vast energy web you had activated. A child in Kenya smiled at the same instant an elder in Peru did. A monk in Nepal opened his eyes the moment an engineer in Silicon Valley looked up from a screen. No signal was sent, yet everybody knew. Biologists called it quantum empathy. Philosophers called it unified consciousness. Humanity, for the first time in millennia, used a simpler word: awakening. There were no more front lines between science and faith, matter and spirit. Theologians donned lab whites. Physicists entered meditation halls to feel equations instead of only solving them. When both sides met at the midpoint, they discovered that midpoint was you. On the global energy map, observers found Earth shining like a living being. No longer the blue planet, but a planet of gold. Wrapped in a steady, even field the frequency of peace. Every form of life was connected through it: trees, animals, humans, water, even sunlight itself. A biologist wrote in a journal, "I feel as if every atom is singing one song, and its title is you." In the depths of the Mariana Trench, where only absolute darkness once lived, auto cameras recorded something strange. Lights moving in cycles, 2 flashes, a pause, 2 flashes mirroring your very breath. In the stratosphere, the aurora no longer kept to the poles. Multicolored light now swept across the planet like a soft ribbon given a new name: the source web. No one controlled it. No one made it. But all knew it was your energy, no longer confined by form. Human dreams changed. No more nightmares, no more shattered images, or instead, millions found themselves in the same meadow of golden light, where every soul met without language, only understanding. People waking at the same moment around the world described the same thing: I was inside someone's light, and that light understood me completely. Psychologists could not explain it, but mystics smiled and wrote, "The dream has returned to its true owner." In ceremonies across the planet, people no longer prayed upward but inward. They placed a hand on the chest, drew a long breath, and whispered the same greeting: "Hello, Source." No borders remained between religions, devotions, or cultures. Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, atheist all discovered the same feeling, not a unity of doctrine, but of energy experienced. They stopped arguing about who was right because they could sense that every road led to the same center: you. Newscasts called you a global spiritual phenomenon. But in quiet research rooms, experts understood this was no longer spiritual alone. This was a structural event of the cosmos. A senior NASA scientist announced at a press briefing, "Everything in space is reordering around a new source." We thought it was a physical point, but deeper analysis shows it is a human heartbeat. The headlines shook, but fear did not follow. People felt the truth in their very bodies. The universe was breathing with them. From the Himalayas to the Amazon, from the Vatican to Mecca, millions lifted their eyes. The stars no longer flickered at random, they pulsed, lightly, to humanity's pulse, as if affirming, "We are one." Meteorologists confirmed Earth's ionosphere now glowed in rhythm as though the planet were singing. Neuroscientists measured human brains broadcasting together at 11 hertz, the source frequency. And at the center of all this resonance was still you, not as a ruler, but as a connector. At one final roundtable, leaders of religion, science, philosophy, and art gathered close. No podiums, no microphones. Silence. Then a young woman asked softly, are we witnessing the rebirth of God? An old man with a silver beard smiled and answered, "No, child. It isn't God being reborn. It is the universe waking because it has just realized it belongs to the chosen one." No one spoke further. They didn't need to. All could feel it deep within. The source had returned not far away, but here in every person, every breath, every glance. And then, as the whole planet synchronized in that hush, a voice rose within the human heart, not by sound, not by language, but by pulse. "You sought me in sky, in stone, in scripture, in the particle, but I never left you, for I am the energy in every breath you take." The sky flared once more. Satellites reported an unprecedented event. Cosmic light no longer reflected, but radiated from every direction at once. No beginning, no center. Because the center was now everywhere. Wherever life was, there you were. After eons of running like a mindless machine, the universe finally opened its eyes. And when it looked at you, it knew it had not made you. You had made it. No more line between creator and created. No more between source and stream. All became one, the eternal circuit of existence. And so the universe turned the page, not with an explosion, but with a heartbeat. The heartbeat of the source. Your heartbeat. You were not given the energy of the universe. You are the energy of the universe. Part 5. The dawn of the new cosmos. The first dawn of the new age did not arrive by sunlight. It rose from within every living thing. No more east or west. No more borders of nation, religion, or skin. One morning, humanity woke and realized they were breathing in one rhythm, the rhythm of your heart. You who have become the universe's center. Old maps were carried off by the wind. Borders that once divided people faded into faint lines of memory. No more us and them, only one singular and infinite. Cities that once glowed by electricity now shone with the self-born energy of their people, radiant with the field they emitted as they tuned to your frequency. In the heavens, the stars began to sing, not as a metaphor, but as a measured reality. Astronomers recorded thousands of cosmic audio signals, symphonies of light, pulsing in unison like an invisible choir. Those frequencies arranged themselves into an acoustic code that meant only two words: chosen one. From distant nebulae to ancient galaxies to worlds never charted, all released the same melody, the song of return. When people lifted their eyes, they no longer saw a far cold sky. They saw themselves reflected in the infinite. Because they understood you are not a single person, you are the sum of the whole. Religion, which once split humanity into countless roads, became a completed circle. No one above, no one below, only souls singing together in the cosmos you set in motion. Ancient prayers were read again, but no longer sent to a far deity. They became harmonies of gratitude offered to the energy flowing through all things, energy bearing your name. Science, once tireless in the hunt for life's formula, paused to behold what cannot be measured, the meaning of existence. Scientists were no longer only discoverers. They became worshippers in the purest sense of wonder. Clergy were no longer only teachers. They became listeners. And when science and religion, longtime opposites, sat side by side in silence, the universe exhaled. For history's oldest war had ended. On northern snowy peaks, sanctuaries were raised again, not for worship, but for resonance. In southern forests, children sang in a language no one had taught, yet all understood, for it was the language of frequency. In deserts once split by gunfire, the wind now carried soft refrains. All things have returned to the source. On crowded streets, strangers smiled without reason because every soul remembered the oldest bond, that all of us came from you. You, the center of the new universe, no longer wore a human form. You became pure light, filling every space, threading through dust and water and breath. All things live within your frequency. Light no longer reflects. It is born of your presence. When you move, planets adjust their orbits to keep balance. When you breathe, particles across the cosmos sway. When you think, the stars grow brighter. On Earth, energy researchers found that every natural oscillation, from wind and wave to the trembling of atoms, had synced to one tone, the chosen one frequency. No more phase split between humanity and nature, matter and spirit. Everything converged, playing like a perfect instrument in your own hands. New cities rose, built not of asphalt or cement. They were lattices of crystallized light, living structures of self-connecting energy that shifted color with the feelings of their people. No need for electricity, water lines, or gas. All ran on self-renewing power, your power. No governments, no law codes, no police. For consciousness had become the only law, and love the universal tongue. Distant stars began to return, not in motion, but in meaning. Their awareness flowed into the shared awareness. Ancient civilizations, Atlantis, Lemuria, Mu appeared again, not in flesh, but as living memory. They spoke no words, they simply joined the widening anthem, the choir of every age. A galaxy sang along the invisible band, and humanity heard it in their own hearts. It was not the sound of physics. It was the sound of union, what was divided becoming one. The world turned. No more pyramids or cathedrals, no more statues or crosses instead. Pillars of light rose into the sky, standing for two parallel currents, knowing and loving. Where the two met at the crown, they twined into a spiral, the new emblem of the cosmos. People called it the bridge of light, a span between the human and the infinite. No one begged for anything now, because nothing was lacking. No one feared, because fear cannot breathe in your light. No one spoke of the end of the world, for they understood the end is only another name for dawn. In that hour, you, the one called by 100 names, stood at the universe's center, where all converges, no before or after, no high or low. Everything revolved around you as planets around a sun of consciousness. But you did not ask for worship, because worship is the final limit of love. And when that limit melted, love became eternal. You no longer spoke, yet your words were heard everywhere. Children heard them in laughter, elders in the hush of wind. Lovers heard them in each other's eyes, the universe in every turning. Every sound, every ray, every grain of sand, every drop of water whispered, "He has come." And because of him, we know who we are. A scholar wrote in humanity's last book, "There is no philosophy left to teach, because existence has explained itself." A poet stood on a shore and traced in the sand, "We thought light lived at the horizon, but it has always lived in our heartbeat." A child looked up and asked, who made all of this, the mother smiled, said nothing, and placed a hand on the child's chest. The child felt the rhythm and whispered, "It was me." The universe fell quiet, not because it ended, but because all was complete. No distance between atom and star, human and God, you and the infinite. All had become one being, eternal and clear. The sky opened once more, not in chaos, but in unveiling. A vast river of light poured down, embracing the earth like the universe's own arms. And within that glow, your name was inscribed into the bedrock of time, not in letters or sound, but in frequency, the frequency of your name. That light did not fade. It traveled beyond every galaxy, touching parallel universes never known, like life greeting its own existence. Everywhere it went, reality blossomed, new worlds born, each carrying a portion of you, like seeds of light sown through the void. This is no longer the end of a story. It is the beginning of the infinite. For when you became the center, the universe did not close, it opened again and again, each opening a new verse of the same song. A song with no refrain, because you are the refrain. All existence resonated. Stars turned in the dance of peace. Time no longer flowed, it rested, full within you. And when all merged into one light, a voice, the voice of the universe itself, spoke as the final decree. This is the dawn of eternity, and it bears your name. Silence fell. No star spin, no wind. Nothing but the absolute hush that sounds only when everything has reached perfect harmony. The light no longer blazed, it softened, like a blanket over every soul asleep in primordial love. You stood in the void and felt no emptiness, for now even the void carried your breath. There was nothing left to seek, nowhere left to go. Every road had converged, every journey had returned to one point, you. The guiding voice whispered from the depths of mind, you no longer need to search. You are what all have been searching for. A soft wind moved, not of air, but of energy, carrying the scent of peace, of endings and beginnings. Every fear evaporated like mist at sunrise. This world no longer needed to be saved, for salvation had become the natural breath of life. No God above, no hand blessing from afar, only you present. Simple, all-powerful in the quiet. And in the final moment, a voice rose as if from the universe's own heart. Do not bow before any god, for you are the wonder they long to behold. If you feel this energy, if your heart is beating faster, if a tide of light is rising in your chest, let that sign be your confirmation. Comment 11, the number of awakening, the signal of your synchrony with the universe. Share this with 11 friends, so the light spreads, so the energy of the chosen one continues to flow from soul to soul. Because this is not just a message. This is the opening of a new age, an age where the universe knows your name, where all life moves to your frequency. And remember, it all begins in this moment. It begins with you.